So at the time of recording this video, I have a relatively small and niche YouTube channel, which means that you clicked on this video because you're already somewhat familiar with Nik Setting. If you don't know who he is, or if you're new to his brand, he's basically super young, super successful, right? More specifically, he's 22 years old. He helps build and scale personal brands for specifically info companies. He's made over $7.5 million in the past three and a half years. And just last year alone, he did $3 million, which is just insane. He has a very lean team. I don't think he has more than 10 to 12 people on his team. And he has very high profit margins, like 75% plus, which is once again just tremendous, right? And in this video, we're going to break down how Nik has achieved this level of success at such a young age, exactly what his marketing philosophy is, what his front-end systems look like, what his back-end conversion systems look like, and we're also going to be covering what his secret is, what his X factor is, which may not be evident at first glance, right? So that's what we're going to be covering here in this video. And if you're on the fence about working with Nik, you shouldn't be, right? Nik's the guy. He is your man if you want to scale to the next level, right? The only caveat is that his packages start from 15 to 20 grand, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Could be even more now since I've been studying him, right? I haven't really hopped on a call to funnel hack him as such, but I have a good idea of what his packages look like. Now, if you can afford that and if you're of that caliber, go ahead. Fantastic. It's very well known, very well respected in the space. So if you have the budget, definitely sign with him. But if you don't, if you're a beginner, if you're relatively new to the space, or if you're making 5, 10, 20K per month, and you really want to scale to the next level using his systems and his philosophy, I want you to go down and book any call with me, because I have studied him very, very closely, and not just Nik, but also his clients, to sort of reverse engineer their success, studied his content, studied his systems, and I have a pretty good grasp of what his systems look like, right? So if you want me to help you implement some of this stuff, once again, you know exactly what to do. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So his marketing philosophy is pretty different from what everyone else in the space does, right? He doesn't run VSLs. He doesn't really have an email list. I think he might have a list, but he doesn't really leverage it to drive traffic to his offers. And he doesn't run any direct ads as well. He focuses more on status psychology, on positioning and messaging, and the profile funnel, of course, which is signature to him, right? He showcases that he is someone worth listening to, and his messaging, from the clothes he wears to the words that he uses to the locations that he shoots his content in, is all very calculated to attract only his ideal customers, who are very, very premium, right? Because like we just said, he sells very high ticket. So this is typically what a traditional funnel would look like in the info space. You would have, of course, your organic, your ads, your outreach, and you send all of this traffic to a VSL. Now, this would be 30 to 60 minutes long, and then people would book a sales call, and then they would give you money. This is the traditional funnel, and this is still what many people are running to this day. The only problem with this funnel, and if it's not working for you, is that you have to have very good content. You have to have very high quality traffic coming in, and you also have to have a very good VSL. And I know this as someone who has a background in copywriting. You oftentimes have to rewrite the hook, rewrite the angle, the location that you're shooting in, the delivery of the founder who is creating the VSL, the background, the lighting, the sound. All of these things matter a lot, and it goes a long way to converting people into paying customers, right? So there's so many points of failure, which is why many VSLs don't convert. But that is something that doesn't, doesn't apply to Nik's funnel, because he doesn't even use a VSL. So this is typically what his system looks like in a nutshell. He has a YouTube and he has an Instagram, and that's basically all that he uses to make money. He does run profile visit ads, but that's pretty much about it. That's basically his marketing in a nutshell. Of course, we're going to go into the details as to why this actually works so well. Starting, of course, with his Instagram. So he's known for the profile funnel. That is something that he came up with, that he realized, he noticed, there's so many people spending time on Instagram, especially with our age group, people who are in the info space, who are between the ages of 18 to 35, let's say. That's the majority of the market. Everyone is on Instagram, right? And why would you send someone to an external website when you can give them all of the converting mechanisms of a VSL in your profile itself? So he's optimized his profile picture, his bio, his highlights, his stories, his carousels, his reels, everything to give the person, the prospect, everything needed to make a buying decision from him on his profile itself, where he can then, of course, chat with them, clear any doubts, and close them in the DMs itself. He made a very bold claim. He said that he closes roughly 50% of all of his prospects in the DMs, which is just insane. Selling a multi five-figure package in the DMs. Crazy stuff. So that's his Instagram. And this is like the heart and soul of his entire marketing. He does, of course, have a couple of YouTube channels as well, where he goes deeper into some of his mechanisms. So if you discover him first on his YouTube, he will redirect you to his Instagram. If you find him on his Instagram, but you've not yet, sold on his philosophy and his packaging, then he will redirect you to his YouTube. And this is what the ecosystem looks like till you're ready to buy from him, right? And then, of course, ideally in his situation, you will close in the DMs, right? So let's dive deeper into what this looks like. So he has 3 YouTube channels specifically, right? His main channel focuses on a lot of tactical value, right? This is going deep into the systems that he uses, not only for himself, but also for his clients. These are often long videos, as you can see, 20 minutes, half an hour. This is 2 hours, half an hour, half an hour, half an hour, half an hour. This is 45 minutes, half an hour here as well, right? Going very deep into the pain points and the dream desires and overcoming objections of his ideal customer, right? His second channel, which he started after the first one, maybe like a couple of years, even after the first one, focuses more so on his philosophy and his status signaling. He lets you into his mind. He shows you the thought process as to why he makes certain decisions and how he does so, right? And then he will go over these always in high status locations. You can see is a hotel lobby here, and this is another hotel lobby, I believe, if I'm not wrong, sitting down and giving his opinion on where the market is and where it's going, basically positioning himself as someone who understands the bigger picture that most people will not see beyond the tactics, right? So the main channel is for the tactics. The second channel is more so for the philosophy behind the systems and his philosophy of personal branding. Then, of course, he also has a company channel where he basically just interviews a lot of his clients. A lot of them are in person as well, which is, of course, very impressive. And he has 45 videos on here. So these are 45 long form videos, sitting down, talking to his clients, and basically showcasing that he knows exactly what he's talking about. And then, of course, all of this traffic, if you're not already sold from his videos, you will, if you're sold, you'll go to Scalendly. If you're not sold, he's more than happy to redirect you to his Instagram, which is once again the heart and soul of his business, right? And we're going to get into this in just a second, but we also need to discuss his ad strategy. So at the moment, he's only running 2 profile visit ads. As you can see here, these are all designed to visit his Instagram, because once again, this is where he's going to convert you. And all of these just basically go over case studies and testimonials. It's a pretty short ad, as you can see, only 40 seconds, and this one's only 35 seconds. And just giving you, he just wants you to visit his profile. I mean, there's no really need to complicate it all that further, right? He has run some other ads in the past as well, which I have gone and broken down, and I've studied very, very deep to understand, why these actually convert. So once again, if you want to replicate a similar system, I'm happy to show you exactly what these ads look like and how we can replicate something similar for you, right? So go down, book in a call, or you can even just shoot me a text on Instagram. From there, of course, we come to his Instagram and his profile funnel, right? This is his bread and butter. This is what he is known for. So as you can see, he has a pretty clean sort of profile picture. He has a very simple bio. He just explains what he does, and he has a call to action. He wants you to DM info. Very, very simple. His link in bio, this is very important, is not to an external VSL to a website. It is instead what I like to call a native VSL. So this is a native VSL that is hosted on YouTube, that is designed to sell you like a traditional VSL, except it's not direct to the camera. Right, and I'm going to show you some other examples here as well. So as you can see, he's just here giving a presentation to his clients who are attending his mastermind over here. It's 2 hours long, and he's basically just building a lot of trust and showing you that he is, number one, not only someone worth listening to, that people are ready to fly across the globe in one place to meet him, to see what value he has to offer. But of course, throughout the presentation itself, he shows you that why that is the case, right? Iman Ghatzi has done a very similar job here as well. This is not necessarily like a VSL, but he has basically had this podcast kind of setup where he's not like sitting down, in front of the camera talking to his guests. They're instead just chilling. They're just playing a game of pool, and then they're just talking about personal branding. The Tates have done something very similar as well. This is about 6 months ago. Andrew, his brother Tristan, and he has his cousin Luke as well. They're just talking about the future, what that is going to look like, how AI is going to affect that, and how joining their school has all of the answers to that problem. Once again, they're just having a chat amongst themselves, but of course, they still at the same time have all of the elements required to convert you into paying customers, right? So this is the new meta. And the whole point is it feels like you're getting access to a private and confidential conversation that you should not have had otherwise, right? This is not directly selling to a camera like traditional VSLs, which doesn't really work as well. This is instead more indirect, but once again, it's still long form, it still builds trust, and it still has all of the elements required to convert people. From there, of course, he has an authority styled pin posts. If you don't have a lot of authority, you could do instead a my story style post. That's something that works very well as well. You want to have like an emotional sort of story behind it. But of course, Nik, he does have the authority. So that's what he showcases in his pin post, right? So he calls out his ideal customer and he shows you what it is like to be onboarded at his company, right? I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here, right? Very simple. So he's sitting down here with the client. He shows you exactly what it looks like, what it is like to work with him, and what the process is basically, right? I'm not going to go too deep into this. It's pretty simple, and it's just showing you exactly what it looks like to work with him. Then of course he does have a call to action here as well if you want to work with him one-on-one. His highlights are structured very simply as well. He's just showcasing with a lot of proof, right? This is one thing about Nik. He just leads with a lot of proof and he shows you what is possible if you decide to work with him. Then, of course, we have a new here or a start here highlight as well, which is very important. And he just shows you what his journey has looked like, right? He's talking about how he used to work as a roofer, then, where he is now. And then he shares his 10 lessons. Once again, in a very high status location, as you can see, this is like a hotel or an Airbnb, very, very expensive. Here he's this is a team meeting, I believe, once again at an expensive restaurant, showing you his transformation. And once again, I can go deeper into this. I don't want to make this video too long, but basically showcasing all of the lessons that he has learned and his entire journey so far. On a day-to-day basis, he has a few routine story sequences that he runs, and this is once again part of his profile funnel. This is bread and butter. He claims to have invented this. I'm not sure if he did, but he definitely popularized it. So the first is your curiosity-driven story sequence. You only run this after spending a lot of money on ads, or if you have an organic reel that has gone viral and you have a lot of new traffic that has come into your profile. You have a lot of new followers, right? So you want to sort of nurture them by building a lot of curiosity around what it is that you do, right? So he has a pattern interrupt. He's showing you a wire transfer of 57 grand, just insane. Showing you how many calls he books on a regular basis. And just, of course, he has a call to action here. And once again, I can go deeper into it, but you could feel free to pause. Or once again, if you want me to actually come in and help you implement it, you can go ahead and shoot me a text or book any call down below. The second is an engagement-driven story sequence, and he only runs this when, the booking conversion is low and lead quality is very low as well. You want to get people more engaged and interacting with your brand more frequently, making them more likely to buy from you in the future, right? Very simple opener, just calling out his ideal audience, showing them, proof of, that he knows exactly what he's talking about, going over some pain points, and just taking people through the entire emotional roller coaster that is required, giving them all of the proof necessary, and building the trust with them. And of course, since this is an engagement-driven story sequence, you want people to actually interact. One of these options is going to be like a hand raiser, basically signaling that I have this problem or I would like this solution. And then, of course, he has a DM setter who goes in there and warms people up and then ideally either pitches them on a call or he closes them in the DMs itself. Then finally, he has a credibility-driven story sequence. He basically just showcasing, happy clients, new testimonials after doing a lot of push marketing, right? It's very simple, very straight to the point, very little text, and he's just basically showcasing images and screenshots. He starts with something super relatable, and then he just showcases proof that all of his clients are winning, more social proof. And then, of course, he ends, of course, with a CTA where then you can book any call with him, right? And what's crazy about Nik is that he also tracks the exact drop off, basically where people stop, they leave the sequence. And towards the end, he had like a 12% drop off, which is not terrible. But the fact that he tracks it just shows you his attention to detail. So that's the credibility driven story sequence. So I've been following him for a while and I have recorded a lot of his story sequences that I could go into. But once again, I don't want to make this video too in depth. But just to summarize, He leads always with a lot of proof, with a lot of status, showing you these high status locations because he wants to show you that he's a winner so that he can attract winners as well, because that is the caliber of client that he likes to work with. So high status locations, and then of course he leads with a lot of proof as well, giving a lot of analogies, which is also very, very powerful, showing you proof. And that's typically what his sequences look like, right? Like that's the crux of his marketing, is status as well as proof. All right, what's next? So yeah, so you're either going to respond to a CTA in one of his stories or in one of his pinned posts, those carousels, those reels, or if you are qualified, then his setter is going to reach out to you. From there, the setter is going to book you into a call. That's pretty standard and very straight to the point, right? But of course, this application process is not. It's very, very in-depth. And the way that he has framed his questions is, incredibly powerful, right? He asks you, how committed are you to working with his team, right? Either you're 100%, either you're 80%. If you're 40 or if you're 0, I have a suspicion that they're just going to cancel the call, because if you're not already pre-sold. However, this is kind of like a trick question as well. If you say any of these answers, he's just going to kick you off the call, right? He's just not going to even take the call with you. But if you say that you're 100 and if you're 80% confident, it's going to be very hard to not buy from him on the sales call, right? So the psychology behind this here is very, very clever as well, and it's something that you could use as well in your application process to filter out people, to make sure that they are ready to buy, to make sure that they are committed to working with you, right? This is a great way to filter out leads who are not qualified. From there, I have not booked in a call, so I don't know exactly what his backend looks like, but I imagine it is something very similar to this, which he has spoken about briefly, and this is already a system that I've been implementing for my clients. Once you schedule your call with him, he's going to redirect you to a thank you page. And this page is basically designed, it's going to have a video on it, and it's going to set expectations as to what is going to happen on the call, right? It's going to get you in that buying state of mind so that you don't think of it as a discovery call or as a strategy call, as some people like to position it. He's going to let you know that this is a sales call, this is to work with him, and it's going to set you in that buying state of mind. From there, of course, there's typically like a 2 to 5 day gap from the day that someone books to the day that they actually show up to the call. And a lot of people make the mistake of just sending like a couple of reminders, and that is like a missed opportunity in my experience. And this is something that Nik runs as well. So the first email is going to set some expectations in the frame for the sales call. He's going to then go over his mechanism, showcase a couple of case studies, throw rocks at competitors and what they're doing, overcome objections before the call, and that is going to really set the tone for what is going to happen on the call. And in many cases, this pre-sale sequence I have seen in my own personal experience can increase show rates by 10 to even 30%, which is just insane, right? From there, for the people who show up, of course, they either close or they don't close. For the people who don't show, you can send them like a rebook sequence. I don't think this is something that Nik does, since he has so many leads coming in all the time, but he's basically just going to send you back into the funnel where, of course, you might buy in the future, right? And this rebook sequence can sometimes recapture 2 to 5% of leads. From there, for the people who don't close, you either downsell them to group coaching, or you sell them another low ticket product, just maximizing the amount of revenue that you can squeeze out of each lead. And that is basically like a rough overview of what his entire system and his entire marketing sort of philosophy and the specifics look like, right? And the secret, like the X factor behind his success, is him, is Nik. He is the X factor. That is what personal branding is all about, right? His conviction. He follows very strictly like a show don't tell kind of philosophy. He doesn't really tell you as much as he shows you through his lifestyle, through his client success, through his proof, right? He always leads with proof. He emphasizes quality over quantity. This is very important. While a lot of people are screaming volume, he is someone who does prioritize quality, right? Maybe he does quantity in the background. Maybe he practices his videos in the background. That may be the case. But when he's showing up online, he makes sure that it is of the highest quality possible. And then just his constant self-improvement as a person, right? Ultimately, your business is a reflection of you, your life, your discipline, and all of that stuff, right? And then, of course, his lifestyle, his high status locations, his signature dressing style, all of these things is what makes him successful. He is the brand. This is a personal brand. He is the reason why he is so successful, and that's why he makes so much money, right? And that's what a personal brand is. So that's the secret behind Nik's success. But Nick has recently gone through a rebrand, as well as, he's opened up another arm of his company that he's calling the Standard Advisory. I'm not really sure what the purpose of this is, but if I was to guess, this is going to be focused on much bigger projects, working with much bigger clients. And as I was preparing for this video, Nick recently announced that he is taking a step back out of the day-to-day of his current business. And what that means is that you're going to get very little to no time working with him one-on-one. He may be just taking the one-on-one off the table completely, right? So, like I said, if you want me to help you implement some of these systems, you can go down and book a call with me to speak with me one-on-one to implement some of these systems, right? And I've studied not only him, but also a lot of his clients, a lot of his competitors as well. And I have a really good grasp of what this info space looks like and how you can use Instagram and YouTube to take your info business to the next level. If you want to make 10, 20, 50 grand, 100 grand a month, I can show you what that would look like for you and for your business, right? So if all of that makes sense, go ahead, book a call. I'll speak to you soon. If not, I'll see you in the next video.